Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are around the globe, and welcome to today's session. We are WNS, a leading strategic digital transformation provider, and WNS has been collaborating with various enterprises across industries to reimagine their end customer experience. We have a well-established CX practice where we combine domain, delivery, and digital to deliver some very exciting outcomes for our customers. I'm Aniket Goodbole, and I lead the CX practice for the North America and the Asia Pacific region. I'm based in Houston. I have a 20 plus years experience in the CX and outsourcing industry. And with me today, I've got Richard Holden, who's based in the UK. Richard, do you care to give a quick intro and an overview of the session, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Anke. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Richard Holden. As Anke say, I'm part of the WNS CX practice team based here in the UK and responsible for our clients in the UK and Europe. And I'm also responsible in the CX practice for identifying opportunities to bring further value to some of our existing clients and also to our new clients who are seeking an improvement in their levels of customer excellence by deploying digital solutions and also great colleagues, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. As I say, I'm based in the UK. I've been working in the contact center space now for over 25 years, and I'm delighted to be here and talking to you. During this webinar, we're going to be sharing with you our experience and research as to how brands must really optimize the level of digital and automated solutions for servicing their customers with the human touch. And we're very keen in this discussion to ensure that the human touch really is amplified as being a key to delivering service excellence. We do acknowledge that every brand has differing goals and requirements and complexity. So this isn't a one-size-fits-all solution or overview, but what we like to propose and discuss are different solutions for organizations to consider, which may mean they draw down on different technologies or digital capabilities with their colleagues in order to deliver a great customer experience at a lower cost base. We hope this session is informative. If you have any questions during the session, please do feel free to ask questions through our chat window, where our experts are ready to answer your questions. And if there are any questions you think about after the session that you'd like to put to us on email, then you will find the email details at the end of the webinar, and Annika and I will be more than pleased to respond to your questions. Annika, perhaps we'll start off by just reflecting on the impact the pandemic has had on the levels of customer experience we're seeing and what that means going forward.
Sure, absolutely. I think there have been plenty learnings from the entire pandemic. I think all industries, all organizations have come out strongly with I would call it a digital crash course for most organizations, right? And there have been a lot of changes that we see both in terms of customer behavior and the needs and the trends thereof. Obviously, there's a need to keep a pulse on the ever-changing needs of the customer post-pandemic. Care has taken a significant importance. There's a need for creative thinking, and there's a need for leveraging new tools that can address customers' needs today and forge better outcomes. The focus is not just on the care part of it, but it's also about meeting the customers wherever they are today because of the entire way in which the world has moved, right? Where it's obviously access from anywhere and work from anywhere, right? And that's changed quite a bit. And there is a requirement to reimagine CX and build capabilities in terms of all the next gen technology available over there. So I think that's what is changing very quickly. And if you really look at from an industry standpoint, there have been so many different opportunities, be it e-commerce retail, where there's a significant increase in online demand for subsegments, especially home and essential items. You could look at healthcare, where the model has changed completely from a physical check model to a teleconsulting kind of an environment. In BFS insurance, you would see most organizations move to self-service and digital channels, right? But at the same time, there has been a significant focus on looking at the workforce as well, looking at how you provide that flexibility to employees, work from anywhere model, and look at bringing these two aspects together to redesign your engagements with your customers. So that's what we've seen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
Maybe, Richard, why don't you spend a little bit of time talking about how you see organizations rethinking their customer experience in this changed world?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I think something you said in your update just then was resonated with me when you talked about reimagining the customer experience. I think that's a really key phrase. It's very much a changing world now, and I think we'd all acknowledge that post-pandemic, the world in a contact center or customer experience context has changed as well. It's no surprise that there are still staff shortages in trying to resource against requirements, particularly for experienced colleagues. So organizations need to think differently about how they're servicing their customers, and that obviously plays to perhaps deploying more technology, and we'll come back to that in a minute. The delivery of customer service has become less dependent on a physical contact center space. Colleagues and customers acknowledge that you can work from anywhere and you can provide great service from anywhere with the right tools and infrastructure. And that is something that has to be considered, particularly, again, back to staff shortages and making it easier for staff to provide a customer service from where they can be more comfortable in doing so. And then the last thing really, I think, is that customer expectations have significantly increased. They're much more aware of the various channels in which they can contact a customer service organization, and their expectations are certainly a lot higher than perhaps we saw pre-pandemic levels. I think there's just become more education around the needs. So with that in mind, I think it's really important that organizations, to your point, reimagine the customer experience in this changing world which they want to offer. And this idea of blending a digital CX capability with a human touch, I think, is really, really important. I think about organizations and what they're wanting to do now. They want to build customers' trust in the service that they offer. And in some cases, unfortunately, some organizations have had quite a torrid time during the pandemic, and their customers have experienced poor levels of customer service, long wait times, calls dropping, not getting the callbacks they requested. So there's a trust element that needs to be considered quite carefully in designing the right blend of digital and human touch. Also, organizations need to also, in their design, think about how they want to engage with customers. Customers want to engage when it's convenient for them, and also where it's convenient for them, whether it's in the website, whether it's on the contact channels, or whether it's through social media. And with that, also, you need, as an organization, to be a lot more agile and robust in your delivery model when it comes to customer service. Because we also know customers are more demanding, but also stuff happens. Unexpected peaks in demand come in, changes happen, which require customers to contact you, and you have to be ready for that. And of course, organizations have a finite budget, so they've got to provide solutions that are optimal from a cost point of view, but at the same time can deliver customer excellence. So the backdrop of the whole customer service delivery has changed quite significantly. At WNS, in the CX practice, we really think about the human-centric part of the customer experience, and that's core to our design principles. Now, whether that's the customer in the human context or the colleague in the human context, that is essential in how we design our service delivery. And in doing so, we then look at the key digital enablers that can complement the customer or the employee centricity in order to create the right solution for our customers or our brands. So I think coming to digital solutions, they give customers choice and empowerment while offering some agility and self-service opportunities. And I think technology and automation are a great way of starting the customer journey. Allow the customer to choose the technology that's suitable for them, hopefully allow them to self-serve. If they can't self-serve or get to the more complex answers they require, then of course there has to be that seamless handoff to the agent or to the human touch. So I think reflecting on the question, what do we mean by a digital and human interaction? For us, it's all about a CX experience designed with the customer at the heart of it, but deploying digital capabilities to suit customers and to help our advisors and agents deliver a great customer service. What do you
Sure,
think?
I think love the way you explained how a human-centered design is very critical to the success of digital. I completely agree with you. Perhaps that brings me to another question that how do you see digital evolve over the years? How have you seen digital really evolve? Have there been some fundamental changes in the way we look at digital, or at the end of the day, are the outcomes that we expect for customers and organizations pretty much the same?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Digital or technology has evolved. Some of it is natural in any technology context. Technology gets better. We learn, and of course, with AI now, we are able to self-learn, and so the technical capabilities have got a lot stronger and a lot better. However, I think one of the more fundamental changes is the fact that in our design principles of customer service using technology, we've changed our mindset. We think now much more of simplicity. We think more about predicting what our customers are going to be contacting us for so that we can offer a more proactive service. So I think the digital capability, yes, has evolved significantly, and there are some fantastic solutions out there to support customers and to support advisors and to support an organization in their insight. But it's the design principles in deploying technology that have become much more interesting. Previously, we heard about RPA, we heard about data lakes. They were all useful tools to help with transactions. Now, I think we've evolved much more into cognitive change and understanding. So we're better to understand, better anticipating using technology, what human behaviors are telling us, and what human intelligence.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that brings us to another important aspect of how the agent has evolved, right? Back in 2000, perhaps a contact center agent who was managing queries on behalf of a client was managing this on traditional channels like maybe a voice and email with very low digital maturity, I would say.
Yes.
And then came an era where there was a high focus on domain experts, where companies tried to create these centers of excellence, whether it be GDS academies for travel, whether it be claim centers of excellence for insurance, whether it's for first notice of loss kind of teams within insurance. And I think domain expertise took a significant importance. And this was obviously enabled by newer channels that had started coming in terms of chat and social, and a little bit of analytics had started getting finding its way into operations, right? But today, as I see it, right, the agent's role has changed completely, right? Not only I would call this as a super agent who needs to multitask really well, be completely aware of different aspects, right? Right from a great domain understanding and knowledge of the entire value chain. He or she needs to have a good functional understanding of the customer journey, should be able to recognize opportunities to suggest digitization in the journey, look at hybrid experiences, because the role today is no longer about just responding to a query, but it's more like providing an expert assistance. Because while there is a bot which is trying to help self-serve at the front end, there's a seamless handoff, like you were mentioning earlier, to this particular agent of ours, right? Where the agent needs to seamlessly take over and understand the context and start providing trusted advice, right?
Yes.
And ensure that that query gets resolved like a one-stop shop. So I see the role more like evolving into something kind of an experience engineer or an experience orchestrator, where you are actually guiding the customer as he navigates through this hybrid digital physical environment, right? And obviously, this is all aided with best-in-class uh, uh, technology and analytics, and embedded with a lot of analytics, right? So I would actually term this as a digital associate now, right? So basically, from a traditional contact center agent, the agent's expectation is to now transform into a digital associate. So that's how I've seen the journey over the last few years. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting phrase, digital associate, but it resonates. Clearly, with the advent of technology and automation, the less complex queries or the more transactional queries are hopefully handled very well through technology and digital solutions if they're designed correctly. And that therefore means the agent is left with the more complex type queries. And so we've heard the term super agents, and they become super agents. But to your point, the digital associate or the digital agent, I think, is really, really interesting because, of course, the digital agent is not only handling the more complex query types, but if they're working effectively, they're able to use the digital capabilities at their fingertips to proactively and responsibly respond to customers' needs by using the insight they have, by using the knowledge management information they have. So yes, I think the digital associate is a great and very relevant phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think companies need to now start creating this vision and roadmap, right? Like at WNS, we are already working on something called as the XPS, which is helping organizations create this vision and roadmap for creating this kind of a digital associate, right?
Yes.
Where if you have multiple touch points on the left, different access points for your customers, right? And while you try to build that layer of digital first, whether it's conversational attributes, whether it's uh, hyper personalized analytics, whether these are non-conversational attributes like widgets and camera apps and media links, right? Or it is some level of intelligent automation in terms of your web form fills and so on and so forth. There is a limit to what digital can do, and there will be a need for a customer, and it could be for various reasons, whether it could be a customer who finds the whole digital thing intimidating. It could be a customer who's new to this whole concept. There could be customers who just generally had a breakdown in their journey, right? Digital journey, where
Yeah.
they would need to speak to a domain specialist, right? And that at that point, how do you create that best in class domain specialist or the digital associate, as I was saying earlier, right? Who's empowered and enabled with the right amount of technology himself or herself, right? And with contextual knowledge being passed to that agent being provided with analytics driven next best actions. There is a level of agent assistance to really respond to that query faster. There is a layer of desktop automation, perhaps in the backend, trying to make that life easier for the agent, right? So at the end of the day, as much as you focus on reducing customer effort, there's a need to also reduce agent effort, right? That's how
Yes.
I see it,
Yeah.
to drive that overall end customer experience, right? And it has to be collaborative, it has to be connected, yeah, and at the end of the day, for the customer, it has to be empathetic,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I see this whole vision and roadmap. And uh, obviously, we have multiple case studies to talk about of how we have done this for a lot of our customers, right? But we can leave that for another day. But the big point that I wanted to drive was that there's a silos between front office, mid office, back office are completely broken today. Organizations need to look at it as an integrated digital CX function, uh, where you're orchestrating that digital plus human experience. You are delivering that one-stop shop. You are enabling it with a hub, edge, and spoke model, and customer-centric by design. With that, Richard, maybe perhaps you can spend a little bit of time talking about what kind of outcomes people need to chase from here on in this era of digital associates, and how that has changed over a period of time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, and yeah, thank you for sharing some of your thoughts around that. So clearly, it's important for organisations to measure the success of their customer experience that they're delivering, and I think most organisations would acknowledge they do that in some form or another today, whether it's a CSAT measure or an NPS measure or something else. Um, but with the evolution of the digital capabilities, greater automation, and then, as we've been describing, the more digital associate who's taking more of the end-to-end customer journey within their own scope of responsibility. The way we measure the customer service experience, I think, needs to change. So moving away from static measurement of NPS, for example, I think is something that's essential. Really, what we should be looking at is the Net Promoter Score of the whole customer journey, from the point of automated contact, which may be through the natural language IVR, it may be through a chatbot, then handing off to an agent, hopefully seamlessly, and then to completing the request. That whole journey should be measured on an NPS scale, not the first point of contact or not the agent contact. So measuring the journey in the NPS context, I think, is imperative. But also, given the deployment of more technology, I think it's also really important that organizations understand the effectiveness of that digital solution. So that could be the percentage of customers who are self-served without repeating, number of customers who are contained within the digital capability, and again, able to self-serve. And what's also really important is that customers are not making it difficult for, companies are not making it difficult for customers to service their needs. So it's really important to measure the customer effort. And again, not just in a point of time, but over the whole customer journey. Customer effort should be minimized if they want to really drive customer loyalty. And then, of course, things like first call resolution or first time resolution remain imperative, again, across the whole customer journey. And you mentioned it earlier, things like next best action for advisors, that should be something that's measured. They now have the technology and capability to support them in answering customers' needs. The next best action should be a good measure of ensuring that the technology is working with the agent, that the agent's using the capability at their fingertips. So a lot to consider. I think the overriding point is that it's now about measuring the whole customer experience, whether it's an automated experience or whether it's a human experience, or in fact an integrated one, but measure it effectively.
No, absolutely. And you summed it up well. I think these outcomes will be imperative with the new digital associate that companies aspire to build. It will be imperative to start measuring new outcomes. So like I mentioned earlier, it's time to rethink your customer experience. It is time to learn from everything that's happened during the pandemic, optimize your customer journeys, look at how you can leverage digital in the best possible way, both for your customer and for your agent, and create that vision and roadmap for building that digital associate with the right outcomes. And I think that's extremely important.
I agree. Yeah. And I think the only point to add actually is that what we didn't measure also was advisor contentment, if you like. So they're now adapting to a new way of working with a digital solution. So it's also really important that we continue to measure how advisors feel about working in the new environment and working with the technology, because of course that doesn't change. If an advisor is happy, invariably the customer experience will be fantastic. So it's imperative that we continue to measure that customer advisor experience using these new technologies.
I completely agree with you, Richard. I think these are absolutely the outcomes that everybody needs to be targeting as they move towards this new era of digital associates. There is an absolute need to rethink customer experience post the pandemic. There are multiple options out there in terms of digital interventions, and those have to be carefully evaluated, both from a standpoint of improving customer effort as well as reducing agent effort. And there is an absolute necessity to create that vision and roadmap and work with the right partners to ensure that eventually companies achieve what they have set out to achieve in terms of their customer experience and customer success.
Great. I'm glad we agree. So thank you everybody for taking the time to listen to our webinar. I hope you enjoyed the discussion on the importance of successfully integrating digital capabilities with the human touch to deliver a great customer experience. Something we're very passionate about. If you do want to speak more about this subject, or would like to hear more about some of our case studies with working with clients, please do reach out to Annika or myself on the below contact details, and we'll be happy to respond to you. Thanks everyone for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.